But I chose to make the sacrifice, and it was a sacrifice. I didn't get work and didn't work for over 2 years. Hollywood forgot me. Now, what happened when Hollywood finally forgot me, when they didn't see me in a rom-com in the theater or in their living room, or didn't see me shirtless on the beach for 2 straight years, it was all of a sudden I found some anonymity again. I had unbranded, and all of a sudden Hollywood called again and said, you know, it would be a novel, good idea?
Matthew McConaughey, Hollywood's beloved star, mysteriously vanished from the big screen, leaving fans bewildered. But what could have caused his sudden disappearance? Was it a bold career move, a controversial opinion, or a hidden scandal? Today, we unveil the shocking truth as McConaughey himself reveals the actual reason behind his blacklisting. Get ready for an exclusive, behind-the-scenes look at the untold story that shook Hollywood. This revelation will change everything you know about Matthew McConaughey and his extraordinary Hollywood journey. But before that, don't forget to subscribe. Let us get to it. Matthew McConaughey isn't one to keep quiet. His speeches do more than just inspire. They often shed light on the darker sides of Hollywood, or as he calls it, the fall of the industry. It seems like he's been singled out for not following the script. But Hollywood drama isn't the only challenge he's faced. McConaughey has navigated a rough journey from his early days right up to his rise to stardom. Born in November 1969 in Texas, young Matthew was already making waves as a student, even earning the title of Most Handsome Student. However, life at home wasn't as picture perfect. McConaughey later shared that he witnessed violent incidents during his childhood. Although he didn't see his parents as abusive, he acknowledged that others might view their actions differently. He reflected, "I was scared at the moment, but even then and immediately after that, I never questioned the love that mom and dad had or the love that they gave us." His memoir, Greenlights, delves deeper into these experiences, offering a candid look at his life. McConaughey's openness about his past, both the highs and the lows, makes his story all the more compelling.
Tampa, I'll always love you more. And then I've got to be like, you can bleep these out. I've got to be like that, break the guitar and go, we're not going out like that. We're going out rocking.
You want to play cards?
You got cash. I was aware enough to know when you...
Even though he's gone through difficult experiences, Matthew McConaughey has also been open about some of the most traumatic experiences he's had. He wrote that his first experience with sex wasn't pleasant and that he was essentially forced into it. He explained that it was a case of blackmail and that he was 15 years old when it happened. He wrote, "I was certain that I was going to help for the premarital sex today. I'm merely certain that I hope that's not the case." Additionally, he added that he faced a later in which he was 18 years old and was attacked by an older man. Matthew McConaughey doesn't see himself as a victim. Despite sharing some tough experiences, he remains optimistic, saying, "I have a lot of proof that the world is conspiring to make me happy." While McConaughey is a household name now, his path to fame was far from easy. When he first ventured into the entertainment industry, things were anything but smooth. As he told Entertainment Weekly, he even tried his hand at modeling, not fashion, but hand modeling. During his film school days, he faced constant rejections. One day, a talent agent noticed his good-looking hands and suggested he might have a future in hand modeling if he stopped biting his nails and took better care of them. To make ends meet, McConaughey also worked as a server at a place called Catfish Station. He described the bar as an all-black, sweaty spot that sold catfish, beer, and blues music. As the only white guy there, he definitely stood out, adding another unique chapter to his early career adventures. Climbing the ladder of fame didn't just influence his career choices. It also had a profound impact on his personal life, particularly his relationship with his mom, Kay. According to People, once McConaughey became famous, he noticed a shift in his mom's behavior. She seemed more dazzled by the glitz and glamour of his fame than anything else. Their routine catch-up calls changed, with McConaughey feeling like he was talking to a fan rather than his mother. It got to the point where even private conversations somehow found their way into the media. This breach of trust led to a long estrangement. McConaughey didn't speak to his mom for a whole 8 years. Eventually, they mended fences and started talking again. But it took a lot for McConaughey to move past the hurt and rebuild that trust. McConaughey's life has been anything but dull, filled with wild moments that make his story even more intriguing. Take, for example, the infamous incident from 1999, which he details in his memoir, Greenlights. Imagine it's the middle of the night, and there's McConaughey in his own home, completely naked, just chilling and smoking a bowl while jamming to the hypnotic African beats of Ali Farka Touré. It sounds like a pretty relaxed night, right? Well, not so much, because the Austin police weren't having any of it. They busted into his place, slapped on the handcuffs, and charged him with disturbing the peace, possession of marijuana, and resisting arrest. McConaughey's response: he defiantly refused to dress up, insisting he was just minding his own business in his home. He saw it as a way to stand his ground and show he wasn't in the wrong. The ordeal ended with him paying a mere $50 fine, but the story blew up, sparking a local trend of bongo naked t-shirts all over Austin. But McConaughey's life took a dramatic turn in the early 2000s when he decided he needed a break. Frustrated with being typecast as the romantic comedy guy, he stepped away from the spotlight for a substantial 20 months. McConaughey reflected on this period, saying, "I was the rom-com guy, the shirtless guy on the beach. That was fine. Those rom-coms paid for the house on the beach where I was shirtless. Guilty." However, he was tired of playing the same old roles and wanted to break free from that mold. At one point, he even turned down a staggering $14.5 million offer for another rom-com because he was so committed to reinventing his career. This hiatus wasn't just a break. It was a strategic move to change how Hollywood saw him. McConaughey described this time away as an opportunity to become a new, good idea in the minds of filmmakers. And it worked wonders. When he returned, the doors to more varied and challenging roles swung wide open. His bet on himself paid off, allowing him to tackle the complex characters we now know him for, such as in Dallas Buyers Club and True Detective. Interestingly, despite being a gifted actor, McConaughey hasn't always landed the roles he wanted, some of which could have significantly boosted his career. For instance, he auditioned for the role of Jack in Titanic, which ultimately went to Leonardo DiCaprio. McConaughey reminisced about his audition with Kate Winslet, saying, "The audition went great. I actually thought I had it." Kate Winslet later revealed, "I auditioned with Matthew." Isn't that weird? I've never said that in public before. It was completely fantastic. Just imagine how different Titanic might have been with McConaughey as Jack. There were other near misses in his career as well. McConaughey once had his sights set on playing the Hulk, a role he was quite excited about. He believed he could bring something unique to the character, but the part ultimately went to another actor. Despite these setbacks, McConaughey's career continued to evolve. His determination to break away from typecasting and his willingness to take risks paid off. He became known for his versatility, taking on roles that challenged him and showcased his range as an actor. This transformation didn't happen overnight, but his commitment to reinventing himself and staying true to his vision set him apart. One of the most significant moments in McConaughey's career transformation was his role in Dallas Buyers Club. Playing Ron Woodruff, a man diagnosed with AIDS who fights to get life-saving drugs, was a turning point. The role was intense, demanding, and required McConaughey to undergo a dramatic physical transformation. His performance was widely acclaimed, earning him an Academy Award for Best Actor. This role was a far cry from the shirtless rom-com guy and solidified his reputation as a serious actor. Another highlight of McConaughey's reinvention was his role in the critically acclaimed TV series True Detective. His portrayal of Detective Russ Cole was complex and riveting, earning him praise from critics and audiences alike. This role further demonstrated his ability to take on diverse and challenging characters, adding another layer to his already impressive career. Beyond his acting, McConaughey has also explored other interests and passions. He has become a professor at the University of Texas at Austin, teaching a course on filmmaking. This role allows him to share his knowledge and experience with the next generation of filmmakers, further cementing his legacy in the industry. Unfortunately, despite his enthusiasm, he was flatly turned down when he pitched himself for the part. The role eventually went to Edward Norton in the 2008 movie The Incredible Hulk, and later Mark Ruffalo took over in subsequent Marvel films. McConaughey never did get to play a superhero in the Marvel Universe, which remains a missed opportunity in his diverse career. McConaughey is known for his dedication to his roles, often going the extra mile to nail his characters. For the 2016 film Gold, he put on a whopping 45 pounds to authentically portray businessman Kenny Wells. Despite his hard work, the film didn't perform well, and all that effort didn't pay off in terms of critical success or box office numbers. Losing the weight afterward was no joke either. It took him a good while to shed the extra pounds he gained for the role. In 2019, he mentioned to the Associated Press that he was still working on getting back to his usual shape. "It's been a while. I needed to get in shape. I was 220 pounds in Gold, of which I still have a couple of things back here on my back." Moreover, for Gold, he even went as far as shaving his head. However, the harsh reviews rolled in, and no awards buzz followed. Contrast that with his role in the 2013 film Dallas Buyers Club, where he famously dropped about 50 pounds and delivered a performance that won him an Oscar. Despite that Oscar win and several standout performances in films like Interstellar, White Boy Rick, and Serenity, box office success has often eluded him. He candidly expressed in his memoir, Greenlights, that despite his critical acclaim, he's had relatively few hits when it comes to raking in the dollars at the box office. The Guardian even commented on a low period in his career, suggesting maybe it was time for McConaughey to take another break, a second reconnaissance to revitalize his career trajectory. It's been tough, and he's definitely hit a few rough patches. Take 2016, for instance, which was a particularly brutal year for him. His movie, Free State of Jones, bombed hard, failing to earn back even half of its production budget. Then there was The Sea of Trees, which was met with boos from the audience at Cannes, definitely not the reaction any actor hopes for. Clearly, Matthew McConaughey has had to navigate some pretty stormy waters in the industry, but he's not alone in this. Many actors find themselves at the mercy of Hollywood's heavy hitters, battling through ups and downs, trying to find their footing in an industry that can be as ruthless as it is rewarding. Let's take a look at some other famous cases of blacklisting in Hollywood. First up, we've got Tippi Hedren. You might know her from Alfred Hitchcock's classics like The Birds and Marnie, but behind the scenes, things were pretty rough for her. She's spoken out about how Hitchcock harassed her during filming. When she turned him down, he basically made her life a living hell. He ordered the rest of the cast not to talk to her and even set up his dressing room next to hers with a sneaky adjoining door.
He told me he'd ruin my career. I said, do what you have to do. I don't care.
During Marnie, he told her he'd ruin her career. She bravely replied, "Do what you have to do? I don't care. I'm out." It wasn't just about harassment. Hedren also said Hitchcock blocked Universal, the studio she was under contract with, from submitting her performance in Marnie for an Oscar. He prevented her from working for 2 whole years. "Studios were the power," Hedren said in 2012, and I was at the end of that. There was absolutely nothing I could do legally whatsoever. There were no laws about this kind of a situation. If this had happened today, I would be a very rich woman. There's Brendan Fraser, who was a big star in the late 90s and early 2000s, especially known for his role in the Mummy franchise. However, his career hit a major speed bump, and he believes the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, Philip Burke, is partly to blame. Fraser claims he was sexually assaulted by Burke at the Beverly Hills Hotel in 2003. After that incident, he noticed he was getting fewer invites to the Golden Globes, which the HFPA runs, and fewer opportunities in Hollywood overall. The phone does stop ringing in your career, and you start asking yourself why, Fraser said. There are many reasons, but was this one of them? I think it was. Fraser detailed how Burke reached out to him, grabbed his behind, and touched him between his legs. This traumatic experience had a significant impact on his career, causing him to question why the opportunities had dwindled. Then there's Rose McGowan, an actress who is one of several women who accused Harvey Weinstein of sabotaging their careers after they became victims of his sexual assault and harassment. McGowan claims she was raped by the movie producer around the time of the release of Scream. After settling out of court, Weinstein allegedly tried to destroy her career. "They threatened me with being blacklisted. I was blacklisted after I was raped because I said something. but only like internally, she said in an interview published by The Observer. McGowan described a vast network of enablers who helped Weinstein. Every single place he ever stayed, there were people there set up to help. This is how it went. This is what it was, she explained. Ashley Judd and Mira Sorvino also had their careers stalled by Weinstein after rejecting his sexual advances. Director Peter Jackson admitted to being influenced by Miramax not to hire the actresses for The Lord of the Rings. Jackson recalled, "I remember Miramax telling us they were a nightmare to work with and we should avoid them at all costs. At the time, we had no reason to question what these guys were telling us. However, upon looking back and reconsidering the past events, I now understand that this was probably part of an active and aggressive attempt by Miramax to discredit or damage these talented women's reputations through misleading accusations." Guys, which other actor do you think has been blacklisted? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Then check out this next video if you don't know that Justin Bieber breaks down after Diddy's tapes are exposed. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.